Hey, hey, good evening. It's the Phenomenal STEMist. I'm just getting ready to share my featured story on my page. Just remember, you gotta subscribe to my YouTube page, Dr. Maya Byfield, or you can also like Phenomenal STEMist on Facebook as well as Twitter. But always follow as well so that you can be able to see the videos um, directly from Phenomenal STEMist. But I always share on my homepage just so that my friends who are not my followers on Phenomenal STEMist can see these videos. We're talking about opioids. We're talking about opioids today. That's a big, big, big drug. So this is my final talk on this is your brain on drugs. You can't hear me? Test myself. Big drug. So this is my final. Yep, I hear me. Um, it's working for my phone. So you may want to take your maybe off of mute. But I just checked, it's working. But thank you guys for joining. My biggest fan, my mother's joining. Tomorrow I'll be talking with Dr. Shauna K. Denham Wilkes, and she's going to give her a psychological perspective about addiction and drugs. I really hope that you enjoyed this series of This Is Your Brain on Drugs. The first week, we talked about sedatives, drugs that cause you to go to sleep. Then we talked about dopaminergic stimulants, and marijuana. Those kind of drugs that basically hype you up and give you euphoria. Last week we talked about ADHD medications for children. Can you hear me now? That basically. Yep. Yeah, ADHD medications that helped, or I wouldn't say help, but play a role in attention attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And this week we're going to talk about opioids. And as I said before, finally tomorrow evening, I'll get a psychological perspective, a psychologist's perspective on addiction and drug use, and the drugs that mental health, that affect mental health. Okay, so we're talking about opioids, and opioids are pain relievers. So we have to first start discussing pain. I'm sorry. I'm thinking, are there any technical difficulties? I see 3 people watching me. Can you hear me? Is anybody else having difficulties hearing me? Hey, can you hear me, Nisa? Can you hear me? All right, so let's. Okay, good, good, good. Mom, I think it's your computer. You need to turn. It's on mute. All right, so let's look at what pain. Where does pain come from? Camille can't hear me. Okay, good, good, good. Yeah, so let's look at pain. How do we feel pain? Okay, so let's say you cut yourself, right? Or let's not say you cut yourself. How do we feel in general? We feel because we have these nerve endings on our skin, and basically nerves cells, they're called neurons, they talk to one another. This neuron sends a message to this neuron. So let's say you touch your hand with a feather. Well, these neurons basically talk to one. How do they talk? They send messages all the way up to your spinal cord, and then there's neurons in the spinal cord that sends messages all the way up to the top of your brain. We feel with the top of our cerebrum. We feel in general. So even if it's a light feather, no problem, we feel it. That's it. Um, but there's a special type of sensory receptor. So those receptors that we feel just basic touch is just called a touch receptor. So I feel temperature, I feel cold, just gentle things, nothing dangerous. But when there's an issue, a strong amount of pressure or really, really high heat, then that's on another level. That screams danger. And so that kind of pressure or temperature is going to cause a strong action to send a message to your brain. So as you see the top of this person's finger, they like a tack. They stuck their finger with a nail. Well, that is a specialized receptor. It's called a nociceptor. And those nociceptors don't normally get fired normally. Like only under extreme conditions that they'll do those neurons. And they send a message real quickly. They send a message real quickly to the spinal cord. And sometimes your spinal cord doesn't even have to consult the brain. Immediately you move your hand, a reflex, right? You move your hand immediately. Even before you send a message all the way up to your brain. If you feel like sometimes you touch something and before you even notice that it hurts, you moved your hand. Why? Because your spinal cord had a reflex action with that nociceptor saying that's dangerous. And then ultimately, after you move your hand, then you say, ow. Then you say, ow. Because something that you did is very dangerous. It's on another level, and strong messages get sent. Strong electrical signals get sent from those neurons up to the brain. Pain is important. Like if you don't feel pain, then your body won't know that you're in a dangerous situation. All right. So that's just to let you know how pain works. At the same time, though, I'll give you an example. Today, I was playing volleyball. I was swimming. I was running. I was jumping. I was in the hot sun piercing on me. And I spent the whole day on the beach. Now, that's crazy because my body should have been screaming all over. Right? The sun is burning me. I'm constantly jumping, putting weight on my muscles and my joints, falling down, diving for balls. And I'm doing this from 10 in the morning till like 3. What's that? 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 5 hours straight. And I did not feel a thing. Talk to me now. Well, while I was doing all of that, I didn't feel pain. As a matter of fact, I was happy. I had great joy. What was it about that situation? I should have felt pain, but I didn't. Why? Because my body was releasing endorphins all around my body, especially in my brain. So while I was hurting myself, literally, by running and jumping and diving for 5 hours straight, sitting in the hot sun for a long period of time, I was exerting a lot of dangerous situations on my body. Why didn't I feel pain? Because while it was sending messages to my brain that I'm in a dangerous situation, another part of my brain, my hypothalamus, was releasing a lot of endorphins. And those endorphins, exactly, Camille. I will not even tomorrow, right now. Right now, okay? I'm rubbing my knees, okay? Yeah, it was releasing endorphins in my brain. And those endorphins were basically shutting down the signals. That's how it works. The endorphins shut down the signals that were being sent to my other parts of my brain saying, hey, she's going through pain. So I didn't feel it. They were negatively affecting it. They were also like joining, the endorphins were joining GABA. They were basically causing GABA to stop the pain. So now I have a euphoria because there's a high increase of dopamine. I'm shutting down messages to my brain saying, hey, she feels a lot of pain. And the dopamine goes up. If you remember dopamine, that's that drug that helps you to focus on learning and gives you euphoria. So they're releasing all of these neurotransmitters. To slow the pain message down and to increase the euphoria. That's what endorphins do. Endorphins released during exercise so that you can go the extra mile, even though you're putting your joints through much pain and your muscles through much pain. To go the extra mile, your endorphins are released and you actually get a euphoria. During sexual intercourse, endorphins are released. Some of the most painful experiences lead to great joy because of the amount of endorphins that are being released in your brain. So endorphins, they're actually they're named after morphine. They're called endogenous morphine, meaning inside your body you have your own personal pain medication. Yeah. Okay. Now, when you sit down and everything goes back to normal, then all of a sudden you start feeling great pain. Because the message, that's one thing about pain receptors. They constantly send messages up to your brain saying, hey, she's in a dangerous situation. Heal her. So now I'm in a healing mode. My muscles are healing. Pain is important because you won't know something's wrong if you don't have pain. But while you're going through a situation, you may not need to know you're going through pain. And so endorphins slow the message so that you can go through the situation and then later recuperate. All right. So what are opioids? Opioids are drugs that act like endorphins. So let's look at this picture here. You see there's a natural endorphin, right? That's what gets released in your brain to try to stop the pain signal. It stops the pain signal so you don't feel pain while you're going through some kind of strenuous work. Look at morphine. Morphine is a drug that binds the same receptors that your natural endorphins do. It doesn't look the same. Look how big the endorphin is and look how small morphine is. But the area right here looks just like this area right here. And just that little piece of morphine, since it looks just like the endorphin, is going to fit like a key right into the receptor that leads to what I was talking about earlier. Even still on top of that, you look at it, it's kind of like grabbing on the side of the receptor. So it's even holding on to it tighter than a natural endorphin would. So morphine is stronger and it holds on longer than your natural endorphin. So the pain relief is exponential. And so people who take morphine, usually they're cancer patients, somebody who got a C-section, somebody went through great pain, and you don't want to feel that pain, for a long time. So opiates basically act like endorphins, and they hold on longer. Okay? It's simple as that. So what's the danger of opioids? There's all kinds of opioids. What's the purpose of opioids? They treat pain. How? They stop the pain signal from talking to your brain. All of the pain that's going on in your body, they're sending messages up to your brain saying there's a dangerous situation going on, and then the opioid comes in and negates the signal, so you don't feel pain. Like I said before, it normally comes out during exercise, sex. It gives euphoria, but the main role of opioids, this was for the role of endorphins. It's to treat pain. Unfortunately, these have great amounts of side effects: constipation, nausea, vomiting, sleepiness. Why? Because it's working like with GABA, and slowing your brain down, causing you to have sedation, euphoria, but also sedation. So you start to get sleepy and drowsy and lightheaded. So one of the major problems with opioids is intense withdrawal. So after you try to stop taking the drug, your body craves it. Why? Because your body thinks it's in danger. And the only way it could live is if it has these drugs. You feel it mentally. Like you feel like you have so much of these receptors. Remember those receptors that I was talking about? That they have been upregulated, a lot of them, to bind these morphine. So when there's no morphine or no heroin or no other types of, imagine there's so many types of drugs out there right now, and I'm not going to mention them, but you know who they are. They just look just like morphine. This part right here is the same. It doesn't matter how all the other parts are different. All it needs to look like is right here to bind to the receptor. And so there's all kinds of different versions of the same thing, and the receptors are there craving, saying, hey, you need to say. They feel like the place of withdrawal is like you feel that you're going to die if you have it. Acute withdrawal is very dangerous. You feel like your body is starting to need it so much because they think they need it for its own existence. And that's why you get such a great amount of withdrawal that you have to get more. And so you get more. And then the problem is people start to try to get their doctor to prescribe it for them. Then their doctor says, hey, now you're becoming emotionally impacted by this, not necessarily physical. The physical pain is gone, but somehow there's a upregulation of these receptors in your body, or who knows, there's some kind of emotional attachment to these drugs. And so they say, no, I can't prescribe you the medication. And then what do? You go and you find heroin. Because a lot of these drugs out there, lots of different types of drugs, they're just derivatives of heroin. That's all. They're just derivatives of heroin. So what they do, they just go get the heroin. And then that heroin heroin drug use leads to all kinds of dangerous effects because you're using dangerous needles that can spread sexually transmitted diseases, causes all kinds of issues with your blood vessels. It's dangerous. All because you got hooked on a pain medication. Man. All because you wanted to stop that pain. And a lot of us are not necessarily going through physical pain. There's emotional pain. And do you know that sometimes emotional pain is triggering the same biological responses in your brain, where you're taking drugs not to take care of physical pain, but now emotional pain? Because just how it's dangerous not to deal with, you get a cut on your leg and you don't deal with the cut on your leg, right? The pain is starting to talk to your brain saying, hey, there's a cut on my leg. There's a cut on my leg. And you try to ignore it. Same thing with emotion. There's an emotional situation going on in your spirit, and you're trying to ignore it with drugs. Yes, my mom talks about many heroin is mixed or laced with chemicals, and that's one of the major issues uh, with drug use, and you start to see people's mouths moving over. It's terrible, and a lot of it started off with a simple prescription. A simple prescription. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what are opioids? They're just pain medications, trying to stop the pain, physical or otherwise, and you got addicted to it and you can't get off of it because every time you try to get off of it, you feel sick, like you feel literally sick, like you many times can't exist without the drug. The withdrawals are is it's intense. So um, endorphins are really good, and I'm not saying endorphins can manage your pain. But that's what they're there for. And so I encourage people to really use strategies to improve their endorphin levels. Uh, Inflammation is one of the main things that cause pain. So you have a diet that is anti-inflammatory. Um, go out in the sun. Some people say use acupuncture or chiropractors to get your spinal cord and back in order. Chocolate releases endorphins. Being happy with music releases endorphins. Sexual intercourse releases endorphins. Deep breathing and exercise daily. All of these things treat in a natural way your pain. Nothing can beat therapy though. Um, But yeah, exercise and stretching, laughter. Laughter is one of the greatest medications. All of these things release natural endorphins so that we don't have to use chemicals that alter our body to the point where we try to stop using those chemicals, then we feel like we're going to die. Yeah, healthy relationships. Yep, healthy relationships. Hey, Don, live from Ohio. Well, that's pretty much it. As I said before, tomorrow I'm going to be discussing um, just from the psychological perspective what the importance of understanding mental health and drugs and addiction, just understanding what addiction is with Dr. Shauna K. Denham tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Uh, any questions about opioids? This is your brain on drugs. I think it's a big epidemic because high levels of prescription. Too much prescribing. I never forget. I went to the gynecologist. I had an issue, and not something real minor, and my gynecologist said, "Oh, here, take this." Like, what? Tylenol is fine. Man, they just prescribe these things like water. Like water. They prescribe these things like water. And I mean, they're the most addictive medications. A recap, Don. Basically, I was talking about opioid medication and what is opioid. So I talked about pain first, right? Pain has specialized receptors. Like we touch, we can feel things with our sensory receptors in our skin, but there's a high level of a sensory receptor in our skin called a nociceptor that it has to be like a high level of heat for burning, for instance, or a high level of pressure for, like, high, like something really bangs on your hand. Anything that alerts danger um will send a message much quicker. First of all, it will send a message to your spinal cord and you'll quickly move your hand as a reflex. And it'll also send a specialized signal to your brain to say, hey, whatever's happened just now is very dangerous. Get out of the situation and go heal, right? At the same time, though, in order to help you survive, it'll try to mask your pain. So it'll send another message to another part of your brain that will release endorphins that will literally stop you from feeling the pain. So especially during activities that you need to be continuous in, like exercise, when you're jumping and moving, you're tearing muscles, you're putting high levels of pressure on joints, right? Some of you are in the sunshine, so the heat is intense on your skin, and you don't necessarily feel that pain. Why? Because at the same time a message of pain is being sent to your brain, like whatever is happening is painful, your hypothalamus is releasing endorphins to actually block the signal so that you don't feel pain, so that you can continue to do that strenuous activity. And so endorphins are very important to block pain for important activities like exercise and sexual intercourse. And so when we discovered that, well, we said, okay, let's make a drug, or they found drugs that did the same thing. It blocks pain. So that's what morphine does. Endorphin stands for endogenous morphine, your own internal morphine. Well, the real morphine looks just like endorphins at the area where it binds to the brain. And it's on a higher level. It binds strongly and really stops pain from being felt. And so all opioids, all those kind of opioids that doctors are prescribing are just modifications of morphine. That's pretty much it. But, and it blocks pain, and it stops signals and causes euphoria. And so people take that to block pain and cause euphoria, but then they get addicted to it because their body they develop more receptors for it and are calling for it as if it's, important for their own existence. Because remember, pain, is dealing with existence and being able to handle survival. So it's like you feel as if you're going to die if you don't have this medication. And then people start to get addicted to medications, and if the doctor notices it then and stops prescribing, then they go off and do hard drugs like heroin, which is doing the same thing, but there's high levels of danger with heroin because it's constantly made improperly with laced chemicals. You're shooting up drugs. So that's pretty much the recap. Yeah. And I just gave examples of how to naturally go through or get more endorphins naturally. Laughter is your greatest medicine, not fill in the blank. Okay, so you're a CPS caseworker. Wow. So you have children whose parents are addicted, I'm sure, to heroin and opioids. Wow. It's sad. And unfortunately, a lot of people go through traumatic experiences, and the very same drug that is blocking physical pain starts to block emotional pain. And so they start to use it, to do something that's not what it's meant for. Yeah, every day. Wow, Camille. Yeah. Well, I hope this, I'm glad I was able to show you what's happening to them. I'm telling you, they actually feel sick. There's stages of withdrawal. So, I mean, doctors just can't, like I said before, we can't just prescribe stuff for little pain. Like, let us go through the pain. Let us heal. Because if we start taking those drugs, man, it's going to be a Dickens trying to get off. Yeah, my mother said she saw multi-generational addiction. You taking it, your children, and this kind of stuff crosses the blood-brain barrier, so it probably crosses the placenta as well, and so children come out having these cravings. Yeah, a lot of them, a lot of the medication passes through the placenta. And so this is serious. Wow. So you've seen, yeah. So Camille was saying she's been in a hospital where addicts give birth. And like I said before, this type of drug can cross the blood-brain barrier in the brain. Therefore, it most likely can cross the placenta. It's lipophilic. It passes through membranes very easily. And the baby's going through withdrawal. Wow. My mom says she had a mom and the daughter 3 years later. We have to do better. It's an epidemic. It's an epidemic. Yeah, yeah. That's traumatic for you. And so yeah. Camila was saying she had to separate mothers from children who are toxic, who've been taking drugs during their pregnancy. But that's how, when a mother takes drugs during the pregnancy, that's how, because a mother's love is pretty strong for their baby. So when they start to take drugs during their pregnancy, that's how strong the drug has hold of them. That's how strong these drugs um, have hold of them. Yeah, it's getting rid of their pain, and like I said before, it's like they feel like they're gonna die if they don't have it. They feel like they're gonna die if they don't have it. Um, yeah, we're gonna talk about addiction. I really can't explain the mindset of addiction. Um, because I'm a pharmacologist, I can just tell you what's going on literally at the biological level. And these drugs are literally stopping pain. They're biochemically shutting down the message that's going up to the brain saying this is a painful situation. These drugs shut it down. Yeah, yeah. Wow, my mom said babies actually have to go through a detoxification. Mm. I wonder if I hope this gets out to people, and they know what these drugs do. It's not a simple I know it comes in one of those orange bottles and you think your doctor is giving you the best thing. But like I said, I never forget when my doctor gave me a prescription for a very addictive pain medication. And I'm like, dude, the pain is not that bad. And I feel like, and they know it's not that bad. So are they getting, I don't want to judge the pain doctors, but I've had friends that were on, and they've had, like, say, certain type of surgical experiences, and they were like, I don't care how bad my surgery is, I'm not taking that because I know how addictive it is, and coming off of it is difficult. Mm-hmm. Good point. Camille says many physicians don't check history before prescribing these addictive medications. Hmm. And many people in general have gone through trauma, emotional trauma. And when there's emotional trauma and you take a medication to actually block the emotional pain, it's just like you're blocking the physical pain. And so you're going to have a desire to constantly block emotional pain. And I think there's so many people that go through trauma. Physicians should understand you can't just be prescribing medication. You should be understanding how much trauma people go through in this world. You should be very careful in prescribing pain medication. Now, I've had conversations with physicians who are pain doctors, and they work their best in trying to make people feel better and know how to do it properly, whether it be an injection at a specific spot. Um, One of my friends, he has a strong backbone, and he had a desire to go into another field, but because of his ethics and strong backbone, he's the best person. I told him to for pain management. Because there's a role, some people are in extreme pain and they need, they need help. But we have to be careful. Yeah, because many of us, yeah, as my mother said, are predisposed to addiction. I think all of us are. If you want to be real, everybody has a drunk Uncle Charlie in their family. Like we're this concept of this is in my family versus it's not in my family. I don't buy it anymore. I think it's mental health issues and addiction issues are in every family. So treat it as such. Treat it as such. Okay, guys. I put my blessed t-shirt on, too blessed to be stressed. Ultimately, let's use our natural chemicals, our natural endorphin, our natural dopamine, right? All of the very important neurotransmitters that cause us to calm down and have a great mood. Let's do it naturally. No more brains on drugs. Yeah. Definitely, Camille. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you guys for joining. I am the phenomenal STEMist. Hope to see you guys tomorrow evening where I have a psychologist's perspective on all of this. All right. Good night.